Hey friends, Tony here, and welcome to week 1 of the French Press Crochet Along. We've all been so patient these last several days, just waiting for today. So thank you so much for sharing that excitement with me and also being patient with me. We definitely wanted to make sure we had as many people as possible in the cow, and you guys definitely did that. Before we get down to business, I wanted to give you the good news that we actually exceeded our goal of 450 participants. We made it all the way to 456. So pat yourself on the back. And as promised, I have 10 names of folks who are going to have their registration fee returned to them. Listen for your name. Here we go. All right. Congratulations to, just looking at my computer here, make sure I get the names right. Congratulations to Patty Cooper, Sharon Jones, Carol Frederick, Deborah Williams, Miss Patrice Weldon, Bianca Boudreau, Madeira Yoff. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. Denny Simmons, Madeline McIntyre, and Gwendolyn Jones. I promise you guys, this was completely random, but got to give a lot of props to my mom. You are one of our lucky winners. If I called your name, your refund is going to be coming to you before the end of the day today. All right, let's get down to business. The email associated with this video includes a full copy of the 5-page pattern. Be sure to download that and keep it somewhere safe. If you ever need to access it again, it will be under the files section of the Facebook group. The pattern itself is 5 pages. It starts off on the first page with some photos of the cardigan, some romance language, and of course a plug for Montana Crochet. The next page has some info on the supplies, including the yarn, the hook, the gauge, as well as all of the abbreviations that are used throughout the pattern. The following page has instructions and notes. This then goes on to pages 4 and 5. As you go along in the pattern, if you have any questions at all, make sure you're posting those in the Facebook group or emailing me directly. So for week 1, we're going to focus on completing the full upper section of our cardigans. That includes the left ribbing, the left front, the neck shaping, the right front, and the right ribbing. We're also going to seam our sleeves in this week. Just to clarify that, let's review the construction of the cardigan. So I have a French press cardi right here, and this is what we're going to focus on here in week 1. I'm going to turn it towards the back so you can see. So we're going to work on the left ribbing, which is here at the bottom of the sleeve, the left front, which is all this along the back and the front, the neck shaping, which is here. There is a bit of neck shaping for the opening. Then it's going to be the right front and finishing up with the right ribbing. In week 2, we're going to focus on the entire lower back, including this ribbing here at the bottom. And then week 3, we're going to do the opening. Week 4, we're going to do blocking and styling. Now that may seem like a lot for week 1, but understand that we are taking a big chunk out of it, but it goes extremely quickly. If you've worked up your swatch, you're familiar enough with the extended single crochet mesh that we're working throughout the body of the cardigan. So don't worry, I'm not overloading you for week 1. And again, you're of course welcome to work at your own pace for the crochet along. We will always have milestones, but don't worry about getting behind if you've got, I don't know, other life stuff going on. We're always here to answer any questions for any part of the cardigan that you're at. So this next section of our video, I'm going to go into an in-depth step-by-step tutorial of how to do the upper section of your cardigan. If you don't need any help, you're more than welcome to skip ahead to the rest of the announcements. Now let's get started. We're going to start with our left ribbing. So you'll want to pull your yarn and make a slip knot to start the ribbing. And we're going to work our ribbing with our 5.5mm hook. So insert the hook into your slip knot, yarn over and pull through for a chain. You'll want to make a total of 13 chains. So there's 13, and then starting in the second chain from the hook, you'll place a single crochet. So not the first chain, but the second chain. Insert, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through 1 for your single crochet. And do that in each chain across, and you'll end up with 12 single crochet stitches. At the end of your row, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. And now to make our ribbing, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And working in just the back loop, we're going to place single crochets. So when you look at the top of your stitches, you can see these little V's. Those V's are the front loop and the back loop of your stitches. We're going to work just through the back loop. So inserting through the back loop only, yarn over and pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through 2 to complete the single crochet. Again, for the next stitch, we've got a front loop and a back loop. We're working just through the back loop. And we're going to do that for each stitch across, single crocheting in the back loop to create our ribbing. chain one and turn to continue with your ribbing. Now I'm going to be making a slightly smaller swatch for our demo, so I'm going to continue my single crochets in the back loop for the number of rows that I'm going to do, but based on the size that you're working, you'll want to adjust the number of ribbing rows that you do. And once you meet that number of ribbing rows, you're going to meet me back here to work on the left front. Once our ribbing is complete, we'll want to switch hooks to our larger hook, our 6.5 millimeter in this case. Insert, then we're going to chain one, and working along the ends of the rows of our ribbing, we're going to single crochet in the end of each row. So I only have 15 rows here. I should end up with 15 single crochets. Of course, you're going to have longer rows of ribbing, so you're going to end up with more single crochet stitches, obviously. But I'm going to work a single crochet in the end of each row. So here's one for me. There's 2, 3, here's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, there's 12, there we go, 13, here's 14, and one last one makes 15. Just like that. And we go to our larger hook because we're now going to start working on the body of our cardigan. So this was the cuff that's going to go around our arm, and then this is going to work up the sleeve and go towards the body. Now we're moving on to row 2 of the left front. We're going to start with a chain 3, which counts as our first extended single crochet and a chain 1. Turning our work, we're going to skip the first 2 single crochet stitches. So skip this first one and this second one, and we're going to work into this third one here between my fingers. And we're going to place an extended single crochet in there. So insert, yarn over and pull up a loop, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Chain 1, skip the next single crochet, extended single crochet in the following stitch. Insert, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, follow that with a chain 1. And we're going to repeat that across, skip the next single crochet, extended single crochet in the next stitch, followed by a chain 1. There we go. So you should be able to count your stitches. It'll say at the end of this row how many stitches you're meant to end up with based on the size that you're working. So definitely make sure you're counting your stitches throughout to make sure you have the right number. Now we're going to move into an area of increases. So again, this is the cuff that's going to be around our arm for the base of our sleeve, and we'll want to increase a bit as we move into the body of our cardigan. So we're going to start off with a chain 3 and turn our work. Now, since this chain 3 counts as an extended single crochet and a chain 1, we would normally skip this first extended single crochet here if we were just doing our rows evenly. But since we're increasing, we're actually going to start our row here for row 3. So we're going to place an extended single crochet here, chain 1, and then place an extended single crochet in the next extended single crochet, and follow that with a chain 1. And we're going to repeat that across the row. So extended single crochet in the stitch followed by a chain 1. And we'll place our last extended single crochet in the second chain of our starting chain 3 here. Just like that. So what we essentially did here is by placing 2 extended single crochets essentially in this stitch, we increased our number of extended single crochets by 1. So we are increasing here. So for rows 4 through 7, we're going to repeat that process. We're going to repeat row 3. So start with a chain 3. We're going to turn our work and then extended single crochet in this first stitch. Chain 1. and then extended single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1 across the row. So this is row 4. So we're going to repeat row 3 for rows 4 through 7. Make sure you're keeping an eye on your count. At the end of row 7, your work should look like this. Since we increased evenly on one side on each of the last 5 rows, we kind of have like this funnel shape. So you'll see how this starts to make sense. This ribbed portion is going to go around your arm, and then this makes up the sleeve, so we widened out as we move into the body. At the end of row 7, you want to make sure you place a couple of markers. I like to use locking stitch markers because these stitch markers are going to stay in place for quite a while. So I'm going to mark the beginning and the end of row 7. So I'm just going to wrap my marker right around the turning chain on the right hand side and around the last stitch that I made here on the left hand side. Just like that. And I'm going to lock my markers because we're going to need that for several different pieces here in the top half and the bottom half of our cardigan. So now to move into row 8, before we were increasing, now we're not going to increase anymore. So row 8 starts with a chain 3. That was 1, 2, 3. There we go. And turn our work. So since that starting chain 3 counts as a stitch and a chain 1, we're going to skip this first extended single crochet here, the marked one, and we're going to move into the second one. So insert, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, follow that with a chain 1, and this is where we get into our extended single crochet mesh. So working an extended single crochet into the next stitch, follow with a chain 1, extended single crochet into the next stitch, follow with a chain 1. And we're going to do that across the row. And this is row 8. Just a couple more stitches here, working into this extended single crochet and then working the last stitch in the second chain of our turning chain. Just going to scoop my stitch marker out the way, work right into that chain. And then we're going to chain 3, turn our work, continuing with another repeat of row 8, skipping this first extended single crochet right here, working into the second one. And so we're just working evenly here. There's not going to be any increases in this section. All right, let's take a look at our work. So as you can see, now that we're working evenly without any increases, our work is just starting to go up and it's not widening out anymore. So at this point, the directions say to continue repeating row 8, which is working evenly in our extended single crochet mesh, until your work measures a certain length based on the size that you're making. So here's a little insight on how to measure from here. So we're actually going to measure from the base of our ribbing all the way up to our working row. And let's say we were making the small size, we would continue this until it was 15 inches. So right now I'm at 6 3/4, and I would continue till I got to 15 inches, including the ribbing. Now let's talk about making some alterations. I know that there were some folks who wanted to make their sleeves longer, make adjustments based on their height or the length of their arms. Now, just to give you a visual of what we're working on here, this piece will eventually be folded in half. So these stitch markers will come together. And we can see that we've got our ribbing here, which will go around our arm. We've got the increase, and now we're working on the bodice of the cardigan, the top half of it at least. So this is your sleeve for now, and eventually we're going to work up to 15 inches, and that 15 inches is going to hit at the left side of your neck. So let's say, which side will be our left side? This side? The left, obviously. No, that's the right. That would technically be the right. So if this was the left side, let's say this is your head and this is your neck. You want to make this long enough to come to the side of your neck, because then we're going to do a bit of neck shaping for the opening of the cardigan, and then we'll work the right side. I think I have this backwards. I don't know. But anyway, when you're making adjustments on your cardigan, you can actually lay this over your body. So this would be your shoulder, and then your elbow would be over here. This is meant to hit just at or right above your elbow. That's the original idea around the shaping of this cardigan. But if you want the sleeves longer or shorter, You can make this section, the repeats of row 8, longer. You can make adjustments here in the increases that come from the sleeve into the body. You can even make your beginning ribbing longer. It's completely up to you. I definitely encourage you guys to customize your cardigans to make sure they fit how you want them to. But ultimately, if you're sticking with me and working the pattern exactly how it's written, you're going to measure from your working row down to the bottom of your ribbing to get the length of the section that you need to finish off the left front. And then once you've done that, you'll want to count the number of rows that you completed, not including the marked row, but of your row 8 repeats. So this was my first row 8. This was a row 8 repeat, and I'd count all the way until I have that 15 inches. I'd count how many rows there were, and then we're going to write that into the pattern. And there's a section to write that in right here. So once you've completed your left front and you're ready to work on your neck shaping, you can meet me right back here. So I finished here what I'm going to do on my row 8 repeats. So here's a quick tip on how to count your rows so you can mark them in your pattern. So we don't want to count our marked row because this was row 7. We want to count row 8 all the way up to our working row. So here's my row 8 right here. Here's 8, 9, oh, sorry. So this is row 8. This counts as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then I want to put that into my pattern. So I left a note for myself here, just ignore that. So I'll put 10 right here. And I'll need that information for later. Now we can get into the neck shaping. So again, like I said before, we're going to eventually fold our top piece over, and then our neck is going to be here. So what we're going to do for the neck shaping is basically work across this row to a point and leave the rest of the stitches open, and that's going to be the opening for our neck. So based on whatever size that you're making, you're going to work across the row and then stop where it says to. So I'm just going to pick a spot to stop. I'm going to do 7 total stitches. So I've got my chain 3, and that counts as an extended single crochet in a chain. So here's 2 for me. Here's 3, 4, 5, here's 6, and 7. So this is where I'm going to stop. And if we look at it, when I fold over, I'm going to continue along this way, working across this row, and that's going to leave the opening for my neck. This will be the front. This side will be the front of my cardigan. So now what I'm going to do is just chain 3, and I'm going to turn my work and continue just working across this shorter section here in my same extended single crochet mesh stitch pattern. Just like that, right across the row. Still working my last extended single crochet into the second chain of my turning chain. 1, 2, and 3. And then as I go back the other way, again skipping this stitch, working into the second extended single crochet, chain 1, extended single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, extended single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1. Just like that. All right. And then the last one into the second chain of the turning chain. Just one more look at that together. As I continue working across, this is going to be the back. When I fold it, this becomes the front. Just like that. So you're going to continue working along the back. I'm just going to take a quick peek at the pattern. We're going to repeat that until we have 11 total rows for our neck shaping here. So this counts as 1, 2, 3. So far, we want to repeat this until we have 11. Go ahead and do that. Meet me back here for the right front. All right, so here we are at the end of the neck shaping. For the sake of my swatch, I only did 5 rows, but you will have 11 for your neck opening. Now we want to move on to the right front, and we want to seamlessly get our work back to the correct width. So we just finished our last extended single crochet here, and we'll want to do a series of chains that will set us up to start working our full width of extended single crochet mesh. So in the pattern, it lets you know how many chains to make for the size that you're making. For my small swatch, I'll only need to make 14 chains. So I'm going to chain up my 14. And now I'm going to extended single crochet in the 5th chain from my hook. So I'm going to count down my hook. Here it looks like I'm counting 6. I promise I'm only counting 5. Working under just the 1 loop of my chain. And I'm extended single crocheting as normal there. Chain 1. I'm going to skip the next chain, extended single crochet in the next chain. And I'm going to repeat that down my chain. Chain 1, skip 1, extended single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, extended single crochet in the next. And this is what's going to get me back to the number of extended single crochets I need for my project to be the correct width. So keep repeating. So now I have a chain 1 here, which is what I would have in between my extended single crochet mesh anyway. And now I'm back and ready to start making my mesh. So I'm going to work into the next extended single crochet stitch on my row. Chain 1 into the next extended single crochet stitch, chain 1. And that's how we're seamlessly adding the width back to our project to start working the right shoulder. So working straight across our row. Last stitch goes into the 2nd chain of the starting chain 3. Chain 3. Ooh, there we go. And turn our work. Again, working down the row, and we're working evenly, not doing any kind of increases here. So we're going to skip this 1st stitch, work into our 2nd stitch. Extended single crochet there, followed by a chain 1, and continue working our mesh across. So let's get to the end of this row together. There's very little seams in this project, and that's completely on purpose. All right, so this is an extended single crochet here. We're working into that. Chain 1, extended single crochet is here. Working into that and chain 1, just reestablishing our mesh here. There we go. 1 here. And then we're going to work our last extended single crochet into the 2nd chain of that starting chain. And then chain 3. And we'd be turning our work. There we go. So this is how we're reestablishing our neckline. We can see that here. So now it makes a little bit more sense, I hope, kind of why we had that opening, because this is the neck opening. And when we fold, we can see that this is actually the top of our cardigan, and this is that front neck opening. So we're going to repeat until we have the number of rows here that matches the number of row 8 and row 8 repeats that we had on this side. So we wrote that into our pattern. For me, I had 10. So I'm going to repeat this until I have 10 total rows starting here. So I have 1 and 2 rows so far. I'm going to repeat this until I get to 10. You'll want to repeat it until you get to the number that equals the number between your neck shaping and your markers. And I'll meet you back there for the rest of the right side. Now I've completed my proper number of rows on this side. I'm ready to move on to what's called next row in the pattern under the right front. So what we're going to start off with is a chain 3. So we're going to chain up 3 and turn our work. So of course that chain 3 counts as an extended single crochet in a chain 1. We're going to skip this first extended single crochet here, extended single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, and now we're going to extended single crochet 2 together over these next 2 stitches. So just watch me first. So we're going to pull up a loop in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 1. Now we have 2 loops on our hook. Now we're going to pull up a loop in the following stitch, yarn over, pull through 1. We've got 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, and that's your extended single crochet 2 together. We're going to chain 1, and now we're going to complete our normal extended single crochet mesh across the row. So that extended single crochet 2 together counts as a decrease, because just like we increased right after the ribbing on the other side, we're going to decrease here before we get to the ribbing on this side. So just continuing our extended single crochet mesh across this row. Here we go. And the last one goes into the second chain of the turning chain. So I'm going to chain up my 3, but before I turn, I want to place some markers. So I'll grab my other 2 markers and I'll place them at the beginning and the end of this row. So I'm putting it right around the stitch here and right around the starting chain 3 on this side. And I want to leave these markers here because we're going to repeat this row 4 more times, but we're not going to move our markers from here, okay? So now let's do this row again together. So I've done my chaining up 3, turning my work, skipping the first extended single crochet, of course, extended single crochet in the following stitch, and now extended single crochet 2 together over the next 2 extended single crochets. So pull up a loop in the first stitch, chain 1, pull up a loop in the next stitch, chain 1, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Follow that with a chain 1, extended single crochet, mesh across the row. Just continuing in our pattern stitch. Oh, sorry about that. I think I went back to just regular single crochets, my bad. Extended single crochet mesh. There we go. Got to catch those mistakes. Continuing across. Now when you get to your decrease, you can kind of pick wherever you want to work into this stitch. So the stitches between my fingers here are a decrease. Whatever you decide though, you just want to be consistent with. So I'm going to go into this space right here because it's most reminiscent of where I would enter for a normal extended single crochet. So I'm just going to enter there. Then I've got 2 more stitches. So a stitch here and then in the second chain of the turning chain. 1, 2, and 3. Let's do one more together. Turn my work. I'm going to skip the first stitch, extended single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, and then I'm extended single crochet decreasing over these next 2 stitches. So pull up a loop in the first stitch, chain 1, pull up a loop in the next stitch, chain 1, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on my hook, chain 1, and then extended single crochet, mesh across the row. So we'll want to repeat this until we have 5 total rows after, or 5 total rows of your next row repeats. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, and 3 here. We'll want to do 2 more rows of this, and then you can meet me here for the right ribbing. We finished our decreases here, so we have a nice little funnel, kind of like we did when we were doing our increases on the other side. So now we're ready to do a couple of rows to set ourselves up for the right ribbing. So we're going to chain 3 here, and we're just going to work an even row of our extended single crochet mesh here. So skipping this first stitch, extended single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, extended single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, and we're just going to work that across the row, working evenly. No increases, no decreases here. Just a couple of more stitches. Last stitch goes into the second chain of the starting chain 3. All right, and now for our following row, we want to do some single crochet stitches. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to work a single crochet into each extended single crochet and chain 1 space. So single crochet in this first extended single crochet here, and single crochet in this chain space. Single crochet in the extended single crochet, single crochet into the chain space. And we're going to do that all the way across the row. Single crochet into the extended single crochet, single crochet into the chain space. So we are essentially doing on this right hand side all of the same work we did on the left hand side, but in reverse. Single crochet in the extended single crochet in the chain space, and then single crochet in the second chain of the starting chain 3. All right, so you should have the same number of single crochets here as you did on the left side right after the ribbing. So you can do a count if you need to, but it should be exactly the same. Now we're going to move into the right ribbing, and for the right ribbing we're going to do my applied ribbing technique. So what we're going to do is switch to our 5.5mm hook, insert our hook here, and then we're going to chain 13, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Starting with the second chain from the hook, we're going to single crochet in each chain across. So we'll end up with 12 single crochet stitches. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, here's 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to turn our work to start working along these base stitches for our applied ribbing technique. So we're going to slip stitch in the first single crochet here, as well as the next single crochet, working under both loops of those stitches. Now we're going to turn to start working back up our row of single crochet stitches here. We're going to skip these first 2 slip stitches and start working in the back loop of this single crochet right here. So just insert into the back loop there, pull up the loop, and complete a single crochet. And we're going to do that for each single crochet across this row, single crocheting in the back loop only to create our ribbing. And we'll end up with 12 single crochets. Again, we're just maintaining that number of single crochets all the way throughout. So if you get mixed up or anything, just count your single crochets. You should always end up with 12. So I've got one more here. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Single crochet in the back loop of each single crochet across. So just in the back loop, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's 8, 9, there's 10, 11, and one more just in the back loop makes 12. Now we're going to go back to attaching it to the base. So we're going to find our next 2 free single crochet stitches, slip stitch into each of those. Turning our work to work back up our ribbing, skipping the first 2 slip stitches, single crochet in the back loop of the single crochet stitch. And that's what we're going to repeat across our row. Meet me towards the end and I'll show you how we're going to finish up, fasten off, and then we're going to sew our sleeves. I'm nearly done with my ribbing here. Just have a couple more stitches on this row. I figured we could work the rest of it together. So I still have 3 more stitches, 3 more single crochets on my base here. So I'm slip stitching in the next 2, turning my work, single crochet in each of the single crochet stitches just in the back loop. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's 9, 10, there we go, 11, and 12. Chaining 1 and turn. Then I just have 1 more row of stitches here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then I just have 1 more single crochet, so I'm going to single crochet into there, or slip stitch rather into there, and I'll be ready to fasten off. And if I count through, I have the same number of rows on my ribbing on this side as I did on my other side. So now I'm just ready to fasten off. I'm going to cut that and pull that loop up and out. So at this point, I'm going to weave in my ends, which just takes a second. You'll want to make sure you weave them in properly. I'm just going to weave it in to get it out of the way for now, for the sake of instruction. Just going to tuck it over here. So we only have 2 ends here because we did so few seams meaning no seams so far. All right, just get that out of the way for now. So what we want to do now is we're going to sew up our top piece. All right, get this out the way. We'll need scissors, we'll need our tapestry needle, and of course yarn to sew things up. So the entire thing is identical. There's no right or wrong side right now, so you can, I guess, pick the side that you want to be your right side versus your wrong side, but it really doesn't matter. So we're just going to bring our stitch markers together. So the markers on the left side and the markers on the right side need to come together, and these will mark the bottoms of your sleeves. So this is our neck opening, this is the top, and this is the sleeve. We're going to want to sew from the marked stitches all the way up our sleeves, sew those sides together. So I'm going to grab a long length of my yarn. To measure out how much yarn I'm going to use to seam things together, I usually will measure the length of the seam plus a little bit extra, and that's been pretty much foolproof for making sure I have enough yarn to seam my sides. Now, there's going to be a lot of debate on how to seam it, which technique to use. I found for this, since you won't be seeing the seams, that a whip stitch works just fine. And you just want to make sure the tension on your whip stitch is not too much or too little. Okay, so I'm going to start from the ribbing side because that's going to be the easiest. And I'm just going to insert through the front and the back, pull through. And then I usually will tie a little knot here, leaving enough of an end to weave in later to start my whip stitch. So I'm just gonna weave through stitch for stitch through my ribbing. So that's stitch number 2, stitch number 3, and so on through the ribbing. And now we're at the body. We just want to keep things lined up because we're basically just sewing row for row. So there's no exact science to this. Just keep everything lined up and sew through, making sure you don't leave too much space between your whip stitches so that you don't have any gaping holes underneath the arm of your cardigan. I'm going to make sure those are weaved through really securely. I'm going to bring my loop around the top of my needle just to make a little knot here and bring it back through my knot. And that's how I like to close up my whip stitch. I'm going to remove my markers. And at this point, I want to sew in this end. And I usually will just go back through some of the stitches of my whip stitch to hide it and make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, I can cut that. I'd weave in the other end as well, but this is now your sleeve. And you should be able to comfortably fit your arm through here if you've been measuring it properly, of course, and you're working the right size. You'll want to do the same thing for the other side. Seam together your ribbing all the way up your sleeve to your marked stitches, and then this part of your cardigan should lay very comfortably over your neck and down the front of your chest. Whew. Now that is plenty. So we're going to stop right there for the week 1 milestone. I just have a few more announcements before I let you go. I'd love to have you participate in the weekly photo challenge. So this is a crochet along specific theme that I'm going to put on each week to inspire some photos that you can put in our Facebook group and under the French Press Cal hashtag on Instagram. So this week's theme is going to be snacks. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I love having a couple little snacks around me, especially when I tuck in for a marathon crochet session. So I love to have coffee, maybe a couple Tim Tams, some gummy bears. So take some photos of your work in progress as well as the snacks that you have with you and share those in the Facebook group and on Instagram under the hashtag French Press Cal. I'm going to grab some of my favorite images and share those on Thursday. And throughout the Cal, I encourage you to keep updating your Ravelry projects. If you want to be in the running for that Most Loved contest, you definitely want to make sure you have a Ravelry project and continue to update it. And then, of course, you can go show some love to some other folks as well. And if you're not in the Facebook group already, it's okay. It's not a requirement, but I really encourage it. It's such an electric and vibrant group of folks, and all that energy is just meshing together, and it's really fun to check in there, not only to get your questions answered, but also just to make friends, chat with each other, and share progress. So you can find a link to join the Facebook group in your welcome packet, and I've also included it in the email that came with this video. And of course, don't forget all of our amazing sponsors. Like I mentioned before, I took a lot of time to curate a great group of folks, and they still have some amazing discounts and products available for you. So be sure to check out your welcome packet for links to Montana Crochet, Harper Baby Hooks, Furls, and Jimmy Bean's Wool to get some amazing stuff from them and support their shops. All right, loves, that's it. I'm about to go crochet myself. I can't wait to dig into that turmeric yarn for my French press cardie. I am so excited to see all of your progress. Be sure to check in the Facebook group, send questions to me directly via email, or post them in the Facebook group to get some support from all of our other Cal friends. Yeah, that's it for now. I'll talk to you soon.